Welcome back to Ladies of Another View, and I want to welcome back just a wonderful guest we've had on before, Christopher Arps, also Chris Arps, and he is he has Chris Arps and Tim Jones' radio show on News Talk. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
So we're going to talk about Black History Month, and you're just the guy to do it because you're so positive, and you're black.
I'm black.
Yeah, you have all the qualifications we are looking for on this topic. So you wrote a little bit something over at the National Center for Public Policy Research. You were one of the people that commented on Black History Month. And as Americans push back on progressivism, their future looks brighter. And we want to look towards a bright future. We're not putting our head in the sand and pretending that we don't need to address bad things. But when you look at Black History Month, what do you want that to be about?
Well, I wanted to go back to its original purpose, where we celebrate the achievements and we celebrate what African Americans have contributed to this country. And that's how it's been for the last 40 or 50 years until about maybe 10 or 15 years ago, that it became a holiday where basically the left has turned it into an event to bash America and to make African Americans feel like victims. And that's not how I was taught Black history. We were taught positive things. Doesn't mean that we want to whitewash the history of segregation and slavery. No one's talking about that. But what we're talking about now is a rewrite of history and of grievance. And I don't think that brings America together. And I don't think that fulfills the creed that Martin Luther King said, that we want to be judged by the content of our character, not the color of our skin.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, and we've talked about with you before, like the progressives, these liberal, these Democrats, how they kind of put, they made, like, black people aren't smart enough. We're going to put you in this box. We're going to kick the men out of the household. We're going to give you all this money. But now you're just seeing like all these black people that are just saying, hello, we're waking up. What are you doing to us? And Hispanics and anything. And I feel like all these migrants coming in, they're promising all these jobs to them. And now they're just saying, hello, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think that's a big reason why you see recent polls that show that Donald Trump is receiving 20% of the African-American vote. That's almost unheard of. You know, Donald Trump in the 2020 election, he received 20% of the African-American male vote. He doubled his percentage of the African-American female vote. So there's a huge opening there. And I think part of the reason is the Democratic Party agenda. A lot of Black Americans feel is not for them. We see that the Democrats, the liberals, are focused on LGBTQ rights. They're focused on illegal immigrant rights. They seem to be focused on everything but what's good for African Americans. And African Americans are tired of the same old playbook that's used every 4 years in an election, that you're a victim, that if you don't vote for us, you're going to be picking cotton and riding in the back of the bus. And I think it's just getting old to a lot of African Americans. We've seen this the last few years at school board meetings. We've seen it at St. Louis at county council meetings, where African Americans have taken the podium and have spoken and have said they're just tired of this.
You know, so I wanted to talk about Black History Month, and I want to talk about that in the next segment. But you know what? They're kind of mixed in. So I think we can go back and forth on this topic because they are related. They're not separate topics. But getting back to the leaders that we want to celebrate, it doesn't ignore, it doesn't erase the negativity. Because George Washington Carver, who at a time when black slaves weren't being taught to read, he was brilliant, a brilliant scientist. He made inventions.
And he's Missourian.
From Missouri?
I'm here in St. Louis, Missouri, and there's a George Washington Carver Museum. I have been there. There is a statue of George Washington Carver in the Missouri governor's mansion. So that history has been told and has been celebrated, and there needs to be more instances of that.
Right. It's not being whitewashed. Like Harriet Tubman, my goodness, how many movies have been made and books written? Like, what a heroine. What an amazing woman of courage. And why was she so amazing and courageous? Because she rose above what was going on with slavery. So it's not being whitewashed. We're celebrating the strong black leaders in history, and it really does both. It recognizes the failings of society and how these strong leaders, but like you say, Martin Luther King Jr., he was talking about we're going to be judged by our character, not by the color of our skin. And I mean, are we losing that with Black History Month?
I think so. I mean, the progressives have wants to turn everyone into victims. You know, if you look at the Democratic Party, the progressive movement, the only thing that they really all have in common is that they all have a grievance. Other than that, they have very disparate interests. And I think that's part of the reason why African Americans are getting short shrift within the Democratic Party, because you have this small pie of grievances and everyone is fighting to see who has the most grievances. Right now, Hispanics, illegal aliens, and the LGBTQ community, they are the flavor of the month in the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party's most loyal constituency, African Americans, are being taken for granted. And as we said earlier, I think that that's why you're seeing polls changing.
Okay, we have a lot more to talk about, and we're going to do it right after this.